please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vecchio,
Here.
Councilman McCarthy,
Here.
Councilman Wareheim,
Here.
Councilman Creighton,
here.
Councilman Malloy.
Yeah. Good evening. First public hearing tonight is to consider a special exception. Petition 2013 number 2 as submitted by Laura Gallagher, Barbara Parada, the Whisper Winery for special exception for winery events on property located on the south side of Edgewood Avenue, 65 feet east of Glenridge Drive, south in St. James.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. We have submitted our affidavits of posting and mailing, I believe, to the town attorney. As you know, this is a special exception application pursuant to a zoning ordinance or ordinance that this board passed around 4/22/2010. So it's a new ordinance, and it's basically, the application tonight is for a permit. Generally speaking, permits are gotten before the building department, but presumably, and we think the reason for the town making this a town board special exception, because the town board considers this to be an important and relevant type of project whenever a winery is introduced in the town of Smithtown. The first thing I'd like to indicate is this is in an agricultural district. It's District 3. It was passed by the state legislature and the county legislature. So it is in an agricultural district. The Barella Farm has been in existence since 1945. In any event, we're here tonight to present our case that we do conform to the criteria and to the conditions that you have promulgated as the town board when you legislated the enactment of this special exception. For example, we're required to have a minimum of 10 acres. We have 18 acres. 10 acres, or in your ordinance, it's 9 acres. No, I'm sorry, it's 10 acres needed for the production. It must be put to the production of grapes, the growing of grapes, and we have at least 11 or 12 acres towards that end of the growing of grapes. Another condition is that we need to have approval from the Agricultural and Markets Law, which we do conform to, and also from the state liquor authority, who we have received a license from the state. We've already been approved to sell wine. Now, another thing that they've asked us, or you've asked us to do pursuant to your ordinance, is to tell you what we're going to do with this property vis-a-vis and with respect to winery events. Well, what's a winery event? Well, in your statute, you indicate that it may include festivals, weddings, receptions, conferences, a seasonal restaurant operation, things of that nature. We also will probably have christenings, bar mitzvahs, certain club meetings. For example, the Rotary Club may want to use the space, various events. You do limit those events during the week from Monday through Thursday between 8 a.m. and sunset. We will conform to that requirement. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Again, will conform to that requirement. So the, the, the purpose of your ordinance is to make sure that we conform to the requirements of the special exception. You have the authority, by virtue of this ordinance, to pass this special exception, and it would really be in a general way. One of the things that your planning department asked us to do, and we did to the best of our ability, is indicate the type of events that we're going to have. And I indicated what type of events we're going to have. The number of persons at an event, that's very difficult to determine because we're new. We haven't had any experience in this area. But I can tell you that we will conform to the requirement of the ordinance, which indicates that we can have no more than 20 persons to the acre. There's almost 18 acres. So you do the math, we're permitted to have approximately 350 to 360 people. Will we have that type of event? I think not. The average wedding from our research indicates that weddings are less than 200 people, generally speaking, and other types of events probably will not require that vast a population of people that would attend. One of the questions that all special exceptions delve into, and specifically this one does, it says, well, what kind of parking are you going to provide? And the parking, you can see if Carmine Grasso, one of our architects, would show you, is indicated in the area where the laser light is showing. Generally speaking, parking requirement for events, restaurants, and catered events are 4 persons per car. I believe the total number of parking that we have is better than 170, 170 parking spaces. Will we ever use that? I don't know, but it's there. Another issue is, well, what happens when you come off Edgewood Avenue? Edgewood Avenue, we all know, is a busy road. It's a well-traveled road, and it kind of jams up during the commuter hours. Generally speaking, we're not going to have any events that happen during the commuter hours. Usually weddings and all types of events happen after 7 o'clock in the evening. The other thing that we've provided for, and again, Carmine, you can show me on the site plan, is we have space for about 43, 44 cars that can queue up off of Edgewood Avenue. So the concern that people may have is they're going to back up onto Edgewood Avenue, and you'll have a tremendous traffic jam. It's not going to happen because of the expanse of property that we have with respect to even the queuing of parking, let alone parking can be, the valet parking will be moving those cars to the back in a rather rapid fashion. So I think the issue of parking is not something that's a concern, especially with this site, because it's so large. Again, the type of temporary facilities that we will use are a tent for outdoor weddings. Carmine, can you show with your laser where the tent area is? And dance floors, of course, within the tent. There are sound systems also within the tent. And as I said, the parking management and practices that we will have will control the parking, but more importantly, the queuing of the cars as they come into the facility. The next issue that the ordinance talks about is the setbacks, the separation between the parking and residential property. The closest parking we have to residential property is 86 feet. The requirement is 50 feet. So, and then we only go further from that point. And I think the largest or the most expansive distance between the residence and the parking would be where on that? That it's indicated that it's about 780 feet, where the cars would be from, I guess it's the eastern parking, the eastern property line. The principal building indicated in the ordinance, the permanent building, which we intend to build, the requirement is 175 feet from property lines. We have our building at the closest point, 207 feet from a residential property line. So again, we have substantial distance from the residences in the area. There's two closed-in, or no, they're not closed-in. They're porches with roofs over, and there's a concern that there will be people on the outside, and how far away will they be from the residences? Well, the building is in between on the closest side, and that's about 270, 280 feet from the residences, and on the other side, it's some 780 feet, something like that. It's just expansive. We have the property, so we are putting this permanent building and even the temporary buildings as far away as reasonably practicable to stay away from the residences, because we know and we're concerned about what the residents are concerned about, and obviously we know they're concerned about noise, they're concerned about traffic, and we try to mitigate that as best we can by the distances that we have with our building. Another question is, do we conform to Suffolk County Department of Health Services sanitary flow? Well, we do. Obviously, we would have to get a permit from Suffolk County Health Department for all the wastewater that emanates from the building. There will be, on occasion, if necessary, additional bathrooms in the nature of portable bathrooms. But most of the time, we feel that there'll be sufficient bathroom facilities within the main building, and certainly it must conform to whatever the health department says we need to do. So the idea of the special exception is to make sure that we conform to the requirements. And we do conform to the requirements. What I'd like to emphasize tonight is we're just conforming to what you, as the town board, passed not longer than 2.5 years ago. This is the ordinance that you passed. This is what we're conforming to. We're not asking for any variances with respect to this project. Again, we're mindful of the residents, and I think you have a few residents here tonight that are going to speak, and hopefully we can answer any concerns that they have. So we conform to the special exception, and we hope that the board would look at this project as something that's beneficial for the town, beneficial for the residents, and hopefully we can answer any questions that the board has. We have the owners of the property here tonight. We have our architects, and we have a few people that have experience with wineries that are located out east. So with that, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do. Did you want to be heard?
Oh, go ahead, Supervisor.
Um, You keep referencing special exception and requirements,
Yes,
and you have to meet the requirements of the ordinance for the special exception to be approved, correct?
that's correct, unless we ask for a variance,
Well-
which we haven't.
The ordinance requests information on the planned events, specifically a complete and detailed description of the proposed types of events, including time schedules, maximum number of attendees, proposed temporary facilities such as tents, dance floors, sound systems, traffic and parking management practice, and proposed security. Specifically, your application says, it speaks in just very generous terms. So my concern is, how does one vote to approve a special exception when one of the requirements is not being met?
What requirement is not being met?
322104, 1B.
Mr. Supervisor, you talking about being specific with the number of events?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, other things, other than just specific. Let me read it again. Complete and detailed description of the proposed types of events, including time schedules, maximum number of attendees, proposed temporary facilities such as tents, dance floors, sound systems, traffic and parking management practices, and proposed security. You've just given a general overview in your response to that part of the ordinance. So that's my legal question.
okay. On January 25th, 2013, Cataldo Grasso Architects sent the letter to the town board, specifically to you, Mr. Vecchio, indicating our proposal, and we touch upon the events, we touch upon parking, the fact that there'll be no exterior music will be played after 9 o'clock. The building setback is 207 feet and so on. I won't bore you with every statement that is in that letter. Further,
Mr. Tramarko, just stay with the letter. Okay, you concluded on the letter?
do you want me to read the letter? or
No, no.
Okay. I'm just paraphrasing a couple of other things. It goes into lighting. It talks about wastewater flow. It talks about the amount of occupancy. The maximum would be 360 people. We then sent the letter pursuant to the request of the planning department, specifically, I believe it was Elaine Learned, and Cataldo Grasso then sent a letter on March 8th, 2013, which goes into the types of parties, and it basically says, which would include weddings, corporate functions, family parties, festivals, seminars, club gatherings, art exhibits, outdoor dining, wine tasting, and similar events. The proposed temporary facilities for the winery events would include, but not limited to, tents, portable dance floors, stages, sound systems, etc. One of the things that I think that is a very difficult question to answer is, the question is, well, how many events will you have in the course of the year? We don't know. And we can't know because we have no experience with respect to how many events we will have, or how many people will attend these events. It certainly would be unfair for us to say now, unless we said we're going to have the maximum all the time, which we don't intend to, nor would business allow something like that. But the best we can do is say we're going to have events, we're going to meet the criteria of the maximums, we'll meet the criteria of the maximum amount of people that can attend. We do indicate that we will have security at events in the form of actual people at the events. Further, when the place is closed for the winter season, There'll be cameras and alarms will be installed. A winery personnel will be patrolling during all times when the winery is open. So that's really the best we can do with respect to this project. It's, I think, very unfair to ask us to speculate unless we speculate to the maximum with respect to every event that could happen and say, okay, you know what, we'll conform to the ordinance. During the week, we will have the affairs as required by the ordinance from, I believe, 8 o'clock till sunset, and we can have those from Monday to Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we can have them from 8 a.m. to, I believe, 11 p.m., and consider that to be the maximum. Will that happen? No, it wouldn't happen in a million years. But to get any more specific, we just can't do.
And I understand that, but the ordinance requires it. And I understand that. You don't know how many weddings you will book. It's not easy to tell that. But the ordinance, and I read it to you, my question is, from a legal point of view, this is a special exception application. The petitioner must meet all requirements of the special exception.
Excuse
Am I
me,
right or wrong?
You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Mr.
Okay, you
Supervisor,
asked the question, I'm
Yeah.
going to try and
Okay.
answer it now.
I-
We have indicated to you, as best we can, pursuant to the ordinance, that we'll do the maximum as provided for in the ordinance in every provision. Short of that, I can't do that. And if the ordinance, if you read the ordinance that says, well, I must tell you how many weddings we're going to have in year 2014, I can't do that. It would be impossible for anybody to speculate that. So I'll say, consider it that we'll have the maximum allowed.
So I don't disagree with you that it's difficult to adhere to, but nevertheless, it is the ordinance.
Mr. Supervisor and town board members, you guys passed the ordinance.
I
didn't.
agree.
So,
I don't disagree with you. But if we're going to have a legal public hearing where it's required that the applicant meets all the requirements, and you do not meet the requirements of 322, 104, 1B, and if the ordinance needs to be changed, then the ordinance ought to be changed.
I believe that this town board, pursuant to the ordinance, where I'll tell you the provision, it indicates that you can put certain conditions on this special exception. I believe it's D, 322-104, D, the town board may impose such additional conditions on the proposed use as it shall deem necessary or desirable before granting the special exception. So if I say to you, I'm going to the maximum on all of these requirements, the town board may, I'm not saying I would agree to it, or my clients would agree to it, but the town board may say, okay, you're saying you're going to have the maximum. We say, well, you can't have more than X during each week. I don't know if that's a good way to do it, but there may be a defect in the ordinance. But it puts me and my clients in a position of having to say, we'll do the maximum, because I can't do anything else. Now, I think we can modify it by you being the town board, looking at that section of the code and saying, okay, we're going to put conditions on, reasonable conditions, so that we can move forward with this ordinance and allow the applicant to have a winery there, which this board passed only a couple of years ago, and still protect the public if it feels it's necessary to do it. And that's the best answer I can give you to an ordinance that has these type of conditions. I can only go with the
Look,
maximum.
I don't want to belabor it. I understand your dilemma. Maybe that's poorly drafted, asking for specifics when it's not possible to give them. But I am being a stickler on the legal connotation here. If you don't meet that part of the ordinance, how can someone vote for the special exception? That's my
Because
question.
All right.
That's all.
Okay, Mike,
No.
maybe you should ask your town attorney.
Well, I don't know that he ought to be able to do that
Well,
right here
I
and
don't
now.
think I should do that right now,
Yeah,
but I would have to say that the question of the interpretation of the ordinance, I would say it's clear, and I would suggest that the town board maybe refer that matter to me after the public hearing tonight, and I'll handle it and respond appropriately.
I'm going to one more time read it for the audience and for me, because maybe I can't comprehend what's being said here. A complete and detailed description of the proposed types of events, including time schedules, maximum number of attendees, proposed temporary facilities, such as tents, dance floors, sound systems, traffic, parking management practice, and proposed security. You have not provided that specifically. So how do you meet the special exception? That's my, okay, Mr. Wareheim, did you wish to be heard?
Yes, on the permanent structures, Mr. Tramarko, is that one permanent structure?
Yes.
Only one on the entire facility?
I'm sorry?
On the entire facility, one permanent structure?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Then we'll go to those who wish to be heard. Irma Gorman.
Good evening. We beg you to support the citizens of Smithtown in their opposition to the catering hall. It will bring unnecessary noise from music playing in an outdoor venue and increase traffic to a quiet residential area. The winery is surrounded by homes, and the catering hall would be within a very short distance of their backyards. It will have an impact on the quality of their lives and the property value of their homes. Have you taken a drive over to the area to see personally how this neighborhood is going to be affected? I don't think you would want to live with a situation like that which might occur. Here are some of my specific concerns. There have been mentions of events of up to 360 people. The map, however, only indicates 58 parking spaces. Where will the overflow cars and buses park? By the buffer by Glenwich Drive South? There will be people leaving the winery under the influence driving down the road while children are walking to and from school. Nessequake Middle School is almost directly across the street. Music will be playing in outdoor areas. Even with the prescribed decibel limits, this will be very disturbing and constant. Will you conform to the town's requirements? There will be no exterior music after 9 p.m., but how about after 8 a.m.? Will there be a contractual limit on the amount of people attending events? It has been said that that's going to be rather flexible, which is disturbing. Please take these concerns very seriously. There are many angry people here who are opposing this winery. You need our votes and support. Thank you.
You're right. Robert Scully.
Good evening, gentlemen of the town board. My name is Robert Scully. I live on Lynham Court in Smithtown, New York. I am not within 200 feet of the winery property, but I'm certainly within earshot of it. Now, no matter how you cut it, a winery is a winery, and that's an agricultural activity, no doubt about it. But a catering hall is not. No matter how cleverly Clinton-esque the legal argument may be, a catering hall is an industrial activity, no matter where it's located. And it's proposed to be located in the middle of a residential area. For all of the reasons that Mrs. Gurman just mentioned, it simply doesn't belong. So I urge you to use your common sense when considering this exception and turn it down. Thank you very much.
Jeanette Scully.
Good evening. Jeanette Scully, 7 Line M Court, Smithtown. As my husband just stated, we live on Line M Court, which is not an adjacent property to the winery. However, the sound from the winery directly impacts on our quality of life. For example, we have for a year now, during the summertime, put up with the popping sound of the cannon once every minute, from 8 in the morning to 6:30 at night. I think we have given up enough for the Barella Farm. We don't need more music, more noise coming from that property. And I ask you to consider the residents of Smithtown and our quality of life. We are not here to support the Barella Farm. Their financial problems are their problems. And unfortunately, we should not have to pay the price for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Eisinger. Eisinger, Mr. Eisinger.
Good evening. My name is Frank Eisinger, and I reside at 3 Regal Court, St. James. I have been a resident of Smithtown since 1963, and I reside at my current address since 1968. Gentlemen, there's more to this application than meets the eye. The impact of approving this special exception is far greater than you may realize. The wine tasting function appears to be nothing but a Trojan horse to get the approval for a catering business, which would not just be limited to a building, but be mainly outdoors with up to 360 people in attendance. Without the special exception, the wine tasting function alone would not be economically feasible. There are 2 major issues regarding this application. One is noise, the other is traffic. Let's consider noise first. 360 people outdoors can create a lot of noise, but that is nothing compared to the loud music that is a must at any function nowadays. Let's be honest, we have all attended functions where the music is so loud that one could not conduct a conversation with a person sitting next to you. If it's indoors, if it's indoors, neighborhood is not really affected, but outdoor is going to be unbearable, especially for the adjoining developments. I live a distance from the railroad crossing on River Road, and I hear the train whistle loud and clear. Regarding traffic, approval of this application would create a nightmare along Edgewood Avenue corridor. Edgewood Avenue is also known as Smithtown Bypass North, is a 1-lane road in each direction, is already bumper to bumper at rush hour. The facility most likely would not be able to provide parking for approximately 150 cars that 360 guests may bring. Most likely, the Hartsdale Street running parallel to the railroad tracks will be extended to the winery property to provide access for emergency vehicles and provide access and egress to the winery property at the Edgewood Avenue and Glenridge Drive South traffic light. Guests not finding parking will most likely park all over the adjacent development. This traffic situation is not only affects our local neighbors, but people as far as Port Jefferson and beyond who use the Edgewood Avenue corridor. We have a right to live in peace, and the winery applicants have a right to pursue their economic goals. The town board has to make a decision whether the economic goals of 1 or 2 families outweighs the horrendous negative impact that affects literally thousands of commuters, not to mention local residents. We elected you and are putting our trust in you to do the right thing. Please don't disappoint us. Thank you.
Mrs. Cossens.
Good evening, Supervisor Vecchio. Good evening, Board. I don't have any paper, but I think I can speak my peace of mind. I live here for 40 years. This is a residential area, and now it's becoming a commercial area. We have lived here, and we don't mind if the Borelli family wants to earn a living by growing grapes, by the catering hall with outdoor tents and music. All of you have been to different affairs. where you can really not hear what's going on. Now, this is being crammed down our throat. According to the papers, there was already a meeting. And I would like to ask all your board members, do you live in Smithtown? Have you ever driven around on this side of Edgewood and on the other side to really see what's going on? This is not acceptable. We are not against the family earning a living. What we are against in turning it into a commercial area, and don't tell me that a winery and catering hall and all this other stuff that goes with it is not commercial. So I would like you to consider, because gentlemen, all of you are up for election, and all these people here will remember. We may not be quite as good as these people, but trust me, when elections come around, all of those people will remember. You didn't nobody cares what happens to the residents. Yes, they need to earn a living growing grapes, but all this other stuff, outdoor tents with music, are you kidding me? With porta potties? And do you think, and honestly, have you ever gone to a function and you couldn't find a parking spot at the facility, and you drove down the street and you parked in front of somebody's house? We all have done it. So you think that people are very nicely just parking where they're supposed to be? Come on, gentlemen. This is a joke. Please consider what's going on, and do take a drive. Go around and take a drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this Mongo? Okay. Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Ann Mongo.
Hi, I'm Ann Mango, and I live at 4 Long Hill Road, about a half a mile from the Barilla Farm. My husband and I have lived in Smithtown for 35 years. In the last several years, we have seen the property values here, like everywhere on Long Island, go down by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Vacant buildings, empty stores, and properties that have been abandoned, like the one at 436 Edgewood Avenue, the Bamboo House, are everywhere, and major eyesores in our community. By allowing the Barilla Farm to finally move forward with the winery and restoration, it would mean progress in Smithtown. It would be a unique and positive addition to our community.
Mr. Forte? Steve B-A-T-E, is it?
Thank you, Supervisor Vecchio, members of the board. My name is Steve Bates. Admittedly, I don't live in town. I actually am executive director of the Long Island Wine Council. And I'm just here tonight to provide a little bit of context in the economic value of events for our agricultural community. The Long Island Wine Council represents 47 of the 58 licensed wine producers on Long Island, and some 44 tasting rooms, of which 40 are located on the North Fork. Retail sales are absolutely essential to the viability of Long Island wineries. While some wineries do sell to wholesale accounts in the New York metro area, the high cost of production in terms of land, equipment, and of course labor makes it extremely important that wineries can count on higher margin direct sales to consumers. Both New York State agriculture and markets laws and alcohol beverage and control laws recognize and reflect the importance of direct sales to maintaining agriculture and preserving farmland across the state. Many local communities also understand that direct marketing is not only important to the wineries and farms concerned, but also to many other businesses in the local economy that depend on the tourism that it brings. On the North Fork, agritourism is a primary economic driver. There are a range of approaches used by wineries to attract customers to their tasting rooms, but there's no question that events play a key role. Again, state law recognizes that events whether they be for wine club members, the general public, or private parties, are a critical part of a marketing strategy. And here's a caveat: as long as the purpose of the event is to sell the winery's products and not as a catering hall rental facility. I know there are concerns about worst-case scenarios involving winery events, but I think it's important for people to realize that our members are really not in the business of throwing wild parties and turning intoxicated people loose on our town roads. For one thing, our local products come at a relatively high price, so that most events are clearly targeted at a certain type of clientele. Even weddings are valuable not just for their site fees, but as required under Ag and Markets law, must provide even more revenue from wine sales on that day. It's also important to point out that it's against the law for wineries, like any other establishment that serves alcoholic beverages, to serve anyone that appears intoxicated. Our wineries take this extremely seriously. The loss of a winery license means the potential loss of a business that has invested millions in land and equipment. That's why our wineries send their staff to frequent tips training courses. Lastly, our members are clearly members of the community in which they operate.
Thank you. Ron Gola.
Good evening, Smithtown Board. I'd just like to say that, I am a member of the farming community, and where I do not know Steve personally, I've had several conversations with him. I have a family-run winery out on the East End, Jamesport Vineyards. We've been there for over 35 years. And as Steve has stated, the real challenge in running a business is how to be sustainable. And sustainable means the environment, the people that are around us, how it impacts the local community, the neighbors. I have neighbors directly behind me and around me at my facility. And it's a balancing act that you have to have that relationship to make sure that everybody gets along, especially with the noise. It is a short season. It is something that I know all of you understand and I feel for, because I have neighbors that create noise around me also. And so what I would just really implore as you make your decision is to remember how hard it is to make a living growing something from the earth and then processing it. And the special events or the course of the natural business that we do, those are the needed things that we need to do in order to run the business successfully and financially. And that's most importantly, being financially successful. Because without that, we don't exist. And farming will not exist. There's only 380 farms left on Long Island, and that's pretty much a sad state. It's headed in a downward spiral. There's no generations coming back to want to do it. Land cost, chemical cost, things that we have to run our business, and I know it affects the people that are strictly around it. But we cannot survive if we don't do the things we need to run those businesses successfully. Thank you.
James Waters.
Thank you, Board. My name's James Waters. I'm also with the Long Island Farm Bureau. I also own Waters Crest Winery, and I am the treasurer for the Long Island Wine Council. I'll echo some of the things that Ron basically indicated. Whether people realize it or not, at the heyday of the Potato Day, we had 55,000 acres in Suffolk County to farming. We're down to less than 600 today. 30,000 acres left on the East End. We've just lost 4 farms in the last 6 months. Farming is not making sense anymore. The next generation is looking at the farmland, and it's not cost effective. Diversification is the only way it is going to survive, okay? Understanding the business, okay? These people have been here since 1945. I think they've done probably a very admirable job within the community. They've grown different crops. They're diversifying for the simple fact of existence, okay? I think they respect the neighbors, and it's good that the neighbors are here to voice their opinion and concern, because they should be. And they need to hear from them what their concerns are. We're all neighbors, we're all taxpayers. Our kids go to school. We all communicate within our community. We understand it. We're the same. We sit on that side too. And we understand what it's like. The cannons, yes, unfortunately at times it is a necessary evil to be able to control the birds. You can lose an entire crop within 3 to 4 days. That costs you $7,000 an acre to manage. Okay? It is an extremely, extremely sensitive commodity. I can't tell you how much. 2011, I lost 45 to 50% of my crop in one season. In direct sales, it's going to cost me close to $500,000 that I don't have that went to the ground because of Mother Nature. This is the nature, and this is something that this family has decided to step into, and it's very courageous. And I think what they're trying to really do is keep the existence of their farm, trying to diversify it. They've got an 18-year-old son that possibly might want to come into the business. I give them a lot of credit, okay? My future, my family, I don't know if my kids are going to look at my business or my farm. So I just would like everybody to understand that. It's great that you're at the table. I think they're hearing your concerns. You got to just come to a basic meeting of the minds in the center. I think it makes sense for the town. I think it makes sense for the taxes. I think it makes sense for the land preservation. But people have to realize, okay, that yes, they have to realize on their side that yes, it could affect the community. We need to have the noise ordinance like you put together. They're sound. I have a winery business. At times we do play music. We have our own monitors. We make sure that it doesn't disrupt the public. In the 14 years inside of my facility, I've never had one resident ever complain. I have neighbors all around me, okay? I am very respectful, and I invite them in because they're part of the community, okay? They're our customers, and it's the future.
Thank you. George Marshall.
My name is George Marshall. I live at 12 Regal Court. The basic economic sense of how many events they're going to have is what they're going to need to pay off their loans and whatever they have. So you could basically judge whatever they put into the property and the basis for the events based on that. There's a traffic situation on Edgewood that everyone knows. It's very clear. It happens every night. What's going to happen when, say there's 360 people that come to a wedding? The 4 people per car is extremely generous. Usually there's 2 people in a car. If you look on the road, there's probably less. That would total 180 cars. Where are they going to queue up these cars? And then what's going to happen once these cars are queued up and if there's a fire and emergency at the place? Also, the traffic on Edgewood could cause an issue where, say someone is sick in their home and an ambulance has to get through, and they can't get through because of that. There's issues with proximity to the traffic light, proximity to the school, and churches in the area. It's basically a catering hall, and that's basically where they'd probably make most of their money. The noise is going to be an issue for the residents, especially the ones that live very close to it. I looked around. There's other vineyards and wineries that they stop the music outside at 6 o'clock. So that's basically some of the issues I figured I'd bring up, and that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vincent Scaffer Jr.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor Vecchio and the town board members. The construction of this winery or catering hall will definitely degrade the quality of life and the property value surrounding much of the homes. A quick look at Aaron Street and Glenridge Drive South shows just how close these buildings are going to be to the residents. Mr. Tamarco, I think you said it was 207 feet from one home? Well, I wrote down 207. Town board, if you want to correct me, I believe it was 207 feet. Anybody that's had a DJ or been at a wedding recently knows that 207 feet, if you were in a quarter-acre parcel, it's 2 homes distance, okay? It's going to be very loud. The fact that there's open fields, trees buffer is not going to help, okay? You have open fields on the other side of the building, and it's just going to travel and transmit. You have to think of the welfare of these people that every weekend they're going to be exposed to this type of music. Noise, porta potties, You know, it's very easy for somebody that doesn't live in the area to say this is a wonderful thing. Or the fellows from out east that have tons of acreage surrounding them. This is 207 feet from the closest home. It's absolutely no way that you can play DJ music or live music and expect people to live every day of their life listening to this kind of stuff. Let's also keep in mind what happened in Hauppauge. There was a club off of 347 in Hauppauge next to meat farms, and the people in that neighborhood suffered with that situation for many years, and it just doesn't work out. I would love to have a winery. It would be a great place to go, a nice thing to have, but nonetheless, based on what the land permits, it's not practical. Thank you.
Robert Brown.
Good evening. I'm Bob Brown from 19 Moore Street. I won't take up much of your time, just a couple of points. I'm curious about a couple of things. First of all, this is to be a winery, although I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there will be no production of wine on the property, just the growing of grapes. I don't know if that's an issue with the agricultural law.
No, I believe that we've approved a winery. This issue is about events.
Okay. Well, I don't think any wine is produced there. I don't know
Well,
whether
it will
that-
be.
It will be, okay. As far as good neighbors, these individuals who have the farm and have for many years, I don't believe that propane cannon was discussed when the ordinance was written several years ago. That was mentioned earlier by Mr. Tramarko. If that's such an integral part of the production of wine on the land, and it wasn't mentioned when the decision was made about whether we should allow that to happen in Smithtown, what isn't being mentioned now about what's going to go on at the catering hall that we're discussing tonight? That cannon, by the way, I don't know, someone said every minute. I think it's more frequent than that. And it's infuriating. It's not just annoying. I would like to know who is going to monitor whether the catering business generates more funds than the sale of wine. I would like to know who is responsible for that. And I don't know that that answer is forthcoming from the board, so I won't wait, but I would like to express that it's very disappointing to see articles like this when many of you are in here indicating that you've already decided this matter before this hearing took place. Not acceptable.
Lenore Cernitz.
Good evening, Supervisor Vecchio and Town Board members. Lenore Cernitz at 22 Damon Circle. I think my neighbors in the community have already voiced the same opinions that I have, so I won't reiterate what they've said, but this facility, as it looks like it's going forward, is distressing and a great concern. I was curious that Mr. Tramarko had based the 360 on 18 acres that they farm, when actually he also said that 11 acres are what the winery is on. So that seems to be where he gets the capacity for the facility. So I think that you should consider that if you're at all considering it, which I do not want you to consider it, but that is something that you should note. The porta potties are dreadful. When a number of years ago, when we dealt with Edgewood Avenue, we did traffic studies. That was at the time that we were concerned about truck traffic on there, commercial traffic on Edgewood Avenue. And eventually you came to the same mind that we were at, which was to take the commercial traffic off the Edgewood Avenue, because at that time, there were 15,000 cars going up and down Edgewood Avenue in any day. Today, there's more traffic than 15,000. Once Stony Brook put up its research facility, the traffic from there goes back and forth. We now have traffic backed up 5 o'clock. You're talking about having affairs, catering from Monday through Thursday till sundown. That's at the height of the commuter traffic. In the morning, I can't imagine what it would be like. And the weekends are, you know, there's just as much traffic because people are going back and forth and they're entertaining themselves on weekends or shopping or whatever it is, and then there's still a great deal of traffic. So the traffic that would be generated by this facility is tremendous, and it should be taken in consideration when you make your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Damiano.
Hi, Dan Damiano, Fleetwood Road. I am a Smithtown taxpayer for over 15 years. I think we have a unique opportunity before us, and you know, it would be a shame to let this pass by without giving its proper due. You have a business that we all look to have in this type of scenario where it's going to be a green business. You have something that's going to preserve the residential properties as far as the natural landscape that we've all grown accustomed to. The other option of you know, having something there that would be cause all these other concerns as far as if the Barellas or the Gallaghers decided to use the property for other uses would not be something that everyone would entertain also. So at this point, to have it being what it is, as far as a green type of scenario, preserving the land, it's a neighbor that everyone's known for over 50 years and has been accustomed to. It's not something where people are going to be here that we don't know what we're up against. We know the people, we know what they're about. It's not something strange. The last thing I want to see is something like that change, where we have something new, we don't know what to expect. At least we know that what their intentions are here, which is to keep and preserve the property. The other thing is the business aspect of this is that it will bring other people from other towns and other areas of Long Island and spend their money here in our town of Smithtown. You see too many businesses up and down the road that you are closing, the environment, whatever it is. Now you have a business that's coming in that's going to draw it. Instead of having the town of Smithtown residents drive all the way east to go to wineries or to spend their money out there, now the money stays within the town of Smithtown. You have other people coming in also spending the money in the town of Smithtown. It helps the small businesses, and it's going to help the entire town as a whole by keeping the Barella's Winery open. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. I can't read the name, 8 Burrell Court. Is it Dominic? Yes, sir. Sorry.
Good evening. We're not talking about growing grapes. We're not talking about preserving the greenery. We're talking about a repurposing of the initial winery into a commercial catering hall. Okay? I didn't buy my home in a district that was zoned for commercial purposes. And now we're being told, and what was interesting is that nothing by the petitioners here talked about the impact of what they're doing on the community. And we're being told that we have to suck it up, or else they're not going to make as much money as they want to make. The people who spoke to you from out east in favor of the vineyard proved their point. They've said to you they can't make money agriculturally. They have to do all these other commercial businesses in order to make money because the vineyard doesn't support it. That makes my point. Please
consider this, consider the traffic, consider the impact on the community, and consider what you initially approved when you approved this. You approved a vineyard. You didn't approve a catering hall.
Thomas Ryan.
Thomas Ryan. I live at 8 Regal Court, St. James. My son-in-law's father just recently sold his farm. It was 40 acres. He got $10 million for it. So I don't know if we should think about how poor the Bareillas are. The bottom line is, though, there are about 200 families that are going to be affected by this catering hall. By the 200, I think 200 families that are going to be affected by this catering hall. Now, our taxes might go down, or they should, if we can't sell our houses at the same level that they're at now. Now, how much does Bareillas Farm pay in real estate tax? We pay about $2 million. What do they pay, 10,000, 20,000? So I think we should get, and anybody on this committee who doesn't vote for us, I guarantee you, we're going to vote them out of office. Goodbye.
Linda Maskey, 7 Tusa Court. I guess I didn't say your name right.
Hi. My home is right...
Is your name Maskey?
Malsky.
Malsky.
My home is at 7 Tusa Court, which is right next to the vineyard. And so you've talked a lot about a lot of things that were to be, that we know, but I like to talk about things we don't know. We don't know exactly how we're all going to be affected by the noise pollution. We know it's going to be terrible. We know it's going to disrupt our peace. We know it's going to disrupt our children's peace, our children's ability to study, our ability to think straight and enjoy our own lives. We don't know how this traffic is going to impact our lives, getting to work on time, getting home from work to be able to spend time with our families. We don't know how, when you put the words together for tents, stadium, or portable dance floor, loud music, and liquor license, that scares me. It causes me a lot of concern. We already know that there's a lot of lives lost needlessly due to people under the influence of alcohol. And now we're going to have to worry about our kids driving, about ourselves driving, about our neighbors, our friends, our families driving, when we don't know how we're going to be impacted by all of this. And accidents that can occur, and motor vehicle accidents that can occur, as well as possibly increased crime rate that may be occurring as well. We don't know all of the answers, and we don't know how this is going to impact us, but we all do believe that it's not going to impact us for the greater good. Thank you.
Mr. Awad, A-W-A-D.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor. Town Board, good evening. I'm here tonight. I live in Smithtown, right off of Edgewood on Whitney Gate. I also work in Smithtown. I have a mobile dry cleaning business, and I'm up and down Edgewood all the time. I think it's working fine. Yes, there are certain times of the day that it's difficult, but for the most part, it is a fine operating system. I'm here tonight because I sit on the board of Smithtown Chamber of Commerce. I'm here tonight representing the Smithtown Chamber, and we believe that it's a positive business progress, and it's definitely in the right direction. We also believe that this is going to bring business and prosperity to the town that we are definitely in desperate need for. That's all.
Dale Peretz.
Gentlemen,
Pull that down, ma'am.
Gentlemen, I did not come prepared, but
and I'm probably going to say things that other people have said, but hopefully you're going to hear it enough times, and you will vote for us. I don't think it's hopefully, about getting voted in or voted out. I know, Mr. Vecchio, you've been here for many, many years, and I really hope that you will think about us, not about a vote, not about sitting in your seat again, because that's what it should be. You should be thinking about us. Lived here for 44 years. I was totally unaware of this until recently, and I believe that I bought in an area that does not allow commercial. It's not zoned for commercial. That's why we have churches. We had a Y. It's not zoned for commercial. It's a quiet, upper middle class neighborhood. It's always been quiet. I don't believe we have any significant crime rate. Another concern I really have is someone was poo-pooing the fact of Nesquik during the week. Well, what about Nesquik on the weekend when the kids have games and so on? What about a child crossing a street? And the fact that people will leave inebriated is a given, and we all know that. So I just hope that you will think about the people in this town. You will live in the town and think about us, not just about your votes. Thank you.
Diana Erbio.
Diana Urbio. I live at 12 Tusa Court, which is right near, oh, do I have to press anything? No. I'm definitely concerned about the noise level. The cannons going off every like 30 seconds was really very disturbing in the fall. And the point is, a vineyard and a farm is great to have there. We live in a nice bucolic area. But if a catering hall, there are zoning, restrictions for a reason. And there are plenty of other areas on Long Island where they could build a catering hall if that's what they want. But if they just want to have a vineyard with maybe a limited amount of tastings, that would be fine. But it seems like they didn't even follow the ordinance, as Supervisor Vecchio said in the beginning, that required how many scheduled events will there be. And if we don't know what those events are, how can you just leave it open-ended? All of a sudden, we might have brunches going on in the morning, or you might have just all summer long from April to November, you might have events. And I don't think that that would be right. And at this point, it might only be 300 families that you're considering. But if you okay the ordinance here, in the special exception, who will be next? Can I build a catering facility on my property or someone else in another area? No one will be able to have, maybe it'll be next to your house next. So that's what I'm concerned about. So thank you.
Jack Kessel.
Mr. Vecchio, Town Board. I'm really here just to talk about Smithtown and what Smithtown meant. Before there were houses, Smithtown was farms. There are very few farms left in Smithtown. Farms give us open space. Now, a winery, if you look at it aesthetically, a winery is a nice piece of property. You ride down Edgewood, you see the vineyards, you see the care that they take to make it all look neat and so on. I would not like to see that not being able to be continued, where the people who own that are not able to support that business and eventually sell it so that you can build, I don't know what the zoning is, but you can build 18 more houses or 36 more houses, depending on if it's an acre or a half acre. And I think what's happening is the more space we give up, the less our quality of life is. And coming from the West Bank, the other side of the river, we appreciate our open space. We fight to keep our park. We fight to keep our space. And I can appreciate the people, you know, their concerns about what the impact is going to be. But the alternative is what would happen to that property if this farm, this agricultural business, could not continue. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Michael Giannatasio. Michael Giannatasio.
Good evening. I'm Michael Giannatasio. I'm at 105 Glenridge Drive. I think I'm about the closest person to what's happening. The cannon is atrocious. The noise is going to be atrocious. We were all against the traffic and the building of the Y because of for basically the same reasons. And now we have the same problem. I've heard everybody else's voice to their opinions, and I agree with a lot of it. But we don't know what the future is going to bring, and I hope it doesn't bring another North Fork Vineyard number 48 effect to this town. This is also taking, if he puts up a catering hall, it's also going to take away from the restaurants and small businesses in Smithtown. And, you know, Smithtown is what we want to keep going. The vineyard is fine. Agriculture is fine. Stick to agriculture. What do we need the wine for? Let the winery stay out east. I knew Joe Barillo, the father, and I talked to him every summer when he plowed the field. And he wanted to keep this farm in his family forever, but he wanted to keep it as a farm. I think he's turning over in his grave that it's a winery. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Susan Rapp. Susan Rapp.
Can somebody read this article for me because I don't have my glasses?
We'll get somebody else to do it.
Well, Mr. Anastasia, why don't you give it to that lady, and she'll read it when it's her, we'll call her up. Well, we'll allow you to speak again. Yes, sure. Well, why don't we allow Mrs. Rapp to speak first, and then you could do that, okay?
Good evening. We had a gorgeous day today, didn't we? Phenomenal. Raise your hand up there. How many of you can't wait to sit in your backyard, light up your barbecue, go in your pool, and have some company over? Please. None of you? Because that's what we want, okay? We had it taken away with the cannon, all right? Now you're going to kill our home values. You're taking away the quality of our lives. It's very nice that Smithtown residents came and spoke up. And I know that those Smithtown residents do not live in our backyard where this is going on. So it's very noble of them to speak up for the vineyard. And the gentleman from out east. My parents lived in Southold for years. It would take forever to drive the North Road, also known as Sound Avenue, because of all the stuff going on at the vineyards. Have you been to the vineyards out east? Do you know what goes on? You've got barbecues, hoedowns, you've got all kinds of outdoor music, all kinds of outdoor entertainment. And you want us to suck it up and listen to that and lose the value in our homes. We invested a lot of money in our home. We redid every room. But now I'm going to lose that if you people vote to support this. Out east, there are acres and acres between the vineyards and the homes. The homeowners aren't affected, except for in Cutchogue with Vineyard 48, where people are urinating in people's yards, where there's people having sex out in other people's yards. Is that going to go on at Barella's? I don't think so. I don't begrudge Steve his grapes and his wine and a wine tasting room. That's fine. We all thought that's what was happening. Now all of a sudden we have a catering hall being shoved down our throat, and we're supposed to be guilted into the fact that this is good for our economics in our community. That's a bunch of baloney. You're killing us if you go along with this. We entrust you to look out for us. I was enraged yesterday morning. Mr. Creighton knows it. Mr. Vecchio knows it. When I read in the Newsday, and I've summed up that 3 of 4 councilmen have spoken out in favor of something that we're just here about tonight. That's a little frightening to me as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a homeowner. So I am begging you, put yourselves in our homes. Think about your backyard. You not being able to, oh great, 9 o'clock at night, everybody. 9 o'clock is time to light up your barbecue and go outside, all right? Thank you.
That's the last one? Was she the last one? Yeah.
I am reading this for Mike.
Okay,
Mike,
sure, please. Just say your name for the record.
my name is Irma Gurman. Mike actually told me about this article, so I'm reading it for him. It was in the New York Post on April 19th. The article is titled, North Fork's Grapes of Wrath. A Hamptons vineyard wants its whiny neighbors to stick a cork in it. Vineyard 48 on the Tony North Fork of Long Island is suing the town of Southold for information about noise complaints, according to a new Manhattan Supreme Court filing. Community members complain that the winery has morphed into a nightclub over the past 2 years, drawing loud, hard-drinking crowds of up to 700 people on weekend nights, some of whom urinate and fornicate nearby. Now Vineyard 48 is at risk of losing its liquor license, and town administrators are refusing to hand over documents related to gripes about the grape growers ahead of a May 13th State Liquor Authority hearing, according to the suit. A lawyer for the winery said he needs the papers to prove his client is being unfairly targeted.
Thank you. Okay, there are no other applications to speak, so I'll move to close the hearing.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareham?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Okay, the next public hearing is to consider amending the zoning code and/or map of the town as petitioned by Bowler Long Island Operating Corporation. Zoning petition 2012-06 for change of zone from quarter acre to neighborhood business on property located on the northwest corner of New York State Route 111 and New York State Route 347. Okay, why don't we, we'll take a 5-minute break for that.
Well, maybe we should open it back up so they can speak. 2013.
Is somebody here on it?
Hello.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have to proceed.
Accept these petitions of
Okay.
2013-2.
I'll do that on when you're ready. Okay, relative to the first hearing, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of signatures stating opposition to the winery, which I'll hand to the clerk for the record. Is somebody here on behalf of the Bowler Long Island Corporation?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor. For the applicant, Operating LI Corp., and on behalf of the property owners, Montauk Properties LLC, Westbury Properties LLC.
Pull that mic down, thank you.
David Altman from the law office of Brown and Altman LLP, 510 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 110, Melville, New York. Mr. Supervisor, just for the record, I have with me some additional green card receipts that were received after the filing date, as well as the affidavit of postings. We'd like to submit those into the record. Just give it to. Yep.
Is that abandoned gas station? I know where it is. Go, please.
Thank you. We're here in connection with a zone change application for a portion of the property located at the northwest corner of Route 111, Route 347 in Hauppauge. The address is 500 through 504 Route 111, Hauppauge, New York. Just a little zoning history. On January 16th, the applicant appeared before this town's planning board as required by code, presented the proposed zone change application, and by written decision dated February 8th, 2013, the town planning board recommended an approval of this application for a change of zone. I'd like to submit into the record a copy of the planning board's recommendation. The property consists of several tax lots known by Section 157, Block 2, lots 49, 50, 52, 56, and 57. Lot 50 is the southernmost lot along this corner, and it's the lot that is currently improved with the now vacant former gasoline service station. That parcel is already zoned NB. It was zoned NB pursuant to a zone change petition filed in 1957, petition number 57-16. At that time, it was granted from a change of zone from residential to business E, which is now NB, neighborhood business. A certificate of occupancy was issued by the town on May 21st of 58 for the service station, which was at that time approximately 1,600 square feet. There have been additional improvements which were also CO'd on that building, adding an additional 200. The current size of the vacant repair station is approximately 1,800 square feet. Applicant seeks to rezone the northerly portion of the premises, lots 49, 56, and 57, which are currently zoned R10, quarter-acre residential. The particular lot at issue, lot 50, is presently improved with a vacant 1.5-story dwelling. In speaking with the owners of the property, they have tried for many, many years to market the property for either sale or lease, and been unable to do so because it's simply not suited for residential use. And toward that end, I have an affidavit from the property owner that I'd like to submit into the record as well. Now, just a little overview of the lot itself. The lot is almost an acre. It's 43,249 square feet in area. The portion of the property which is presently zoned NB is 22,345 square feet, or about 51.7% of the overall lot. The portion for which the applicant seeks a rezone is 20,904 square feet, or 48.3% of the overall lot. The lot has frontage of approximately 260 feet on Route 111 and approximately 140 feet on Route 347. Premises is bordered on the southern lot line by Route 347 and along its eastern lot line by County Route 111. On the western lot line is the site of the former Community Hospital of Western Suffolk, which is also now vacant land. And to the north, there is a medical office use, which is zoned, I believe, OB. As the town is, I'm sure, well aware, this board is well aware, the state over the past couple of years has undertaken some major renovations at that intersection of Route 111 and Route 347. Route 111, proximate to the site, is a 5-lane road, I believe. There are 3 lanes heading south, with the rightmost lane right turn only, a center through lane, and then the leftmost lane being through and left turn only. There are 2 northbound lanes, and I believe just past the property there is a turning lane provided. 347 in the vicinity of the property is an east-west artery. It's 6 lanes, 3 lanes westbound, 3 lanes eastbound, and the state, in addition to widening and restriping, has also installed a raised median, planted median in that area. I did note in traveling the area today that in addition, the state also added a bus stop, and I'm going to guesstimating the distance at approximately 150, 200 feet west of the site on the north side of 347. There is what appeared to be a pedestrian walkway with a light signal for the pedestrian to press to allow pedestrians to pass across 347 and access that bus stop. Additionally, there appeared to be a bus stop on Route 111, also about 150 to 250 feet north of the site, that was recently installed by the state. Now, the character of the area is as predominantly commercial. As I indicated, there is an office building which is used for medical use, which abuts to the north. That parcel is zoned office business. There is single-family residential further north, zoned R10. The nearest residence to this site is approximately 400 feet. To the west is as I mentioned, the vacant Chow's site, Community Hospital of Western Suffolk, which is zoned R6. In speaking with town officials over the past several months, it's my understanding that a number of different proposals have been floated for that site, both of mixed-use development, commercial and residential. South, immediately adjacent to the subject lot for which the applicant seeks the rezoning, is the accompanying piece, which is zoned NB. Further to the south, on the south side of Route 347, there are again mixed commercial uses, starting with the Hapog Diner, a small office building, TD Bank, and then the ShopRite Shopping Center. These parcels are again of mixed commercial zone, including office business, neighborhood business, and shopping center business. East of the subject property, at the northeast corner of Route 111 and 347, there is a Hess gas station, which is zoned NB, and then further east, a small strip shopping center, which is zoned shopping center business. With the exception of the Chow's property, all the parcels within the vicinity of the subject property at the intersection are zoned and used for commercial purposes. There is no other R10 property at this intersection or in the commercial corridor that exists along Route 111 and 347. Respectfully, the R10 zoning designation of the subject property makes little sense given the neighborhood character of the neighborhood and the surrounding zoning of those parcels. In fact, I would respectfully submit that to leave the subject property zoned R10 in essence devalues the site. With respect to the proposed build, and I'll mention this briefly, the applicant seeks a change of zone to develop the adjacent NB parcel to the south and the subject parcel, which is still zoned R10, with a gasoline service station and convenience store. As I indicated, the existing building, which has been vacant for the better part of 10 years now, is approximately 1,800 square feet. The applicant proposes to raise that structure and build a small 1,200 square foot convenience store with resulting in approximately 33% reduction in the size of the structure on site. There will be an overhead pump island canopy for 8 MPDs, multiple product dispensers, and two diesel dispensers situated on the northerly portion of the site. Now, I understand that planning has prepared a planning memo. I did, in fact, contact the planning department yesterday to find out if that memo was available. I was advised it was not because it hadn't been released to this board. However, I was advised that there were no substantive changes to the planning memo from that which was submitted to the planning board in connection with the January 16th hearing, other than to note that the planning board recommended approval of the application. Now, the planning board's memo, again, it reiterates in part of the zoning history, which I just indicated, and it also raises certain questions with respect to parking and traffic. And in connection with that, the applicant has prepared a traffic and parking study. That traffic and parking study was prepared by Stonefield Engineering. It's dated December 24th. That study was submitted to the planning board. I'd also like to submit that study to this board tonight, so it has it for the record. With me this evening is Chuck Olivo from Stonefield Engineering. If the board has any questions with respect to the study or the traffic conditions in and around the site, Chuck is certainly available to answer any questions that the board may have. I will read the summary of Chuck's report into the record. This report was prepared to examine the potential traffic impact of the proposed gasoline station with convenience store located at 504 Route 111, Smithtown, New York. The analysis findings, which have been based on industry standard guidelines, indicate that the proposed development would not have a significant impact on the traffic operations of the adjacent roadway network, as it would be expected to generate less than 1.5% of the overall traffic volume at the Route 347 and Route 111 signalized intersection. Specifically, the proposed development is anticipated to draw at least 56 to 62% of its patrons from vehicles already on the surrounding roadway, which is known as pass-by traffic, during the morning and evening peaks, and thereby minimize the potential increase in traffic on the adjacent roadway network. Additionally, the site driveways, on-site layout, and access locations have been designed to provide for effective access and to form the subject property and parking supply, which would be sufficient to support this need. In addition, or should say this project, in addition, I believe the planning memo related to whether or not there was perhaps a need for this proposed use at the intersection. And I would, in response to that, point to this town's own comprehensive plan, which I believe supports the need for this particular application, as well as current industry data and trend. It should be noted that this station will serve both motorists heading south on 111 and west on 347. The station will give motorists another price-competitive option to obtain fuel and convenience store items. The development of the site will provide substantially greater property tax revenue to this town. It's my understanding that the property, in its present condition, is taxed at somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a year. It's anticipated that once built out, that this particular development will generate, based on similar applications and similar builds that the applicant has recently done throughout the island, $60,000 a year or more. In addition, the site will also generate sales tax revenue and petroleum taxes. Development of the site will provide a minimum of 4 full-time jobs. And as I mentioned, it comports with the town's comprehensive plan. Toward that end, I mentioned the 2010 comprehensive plan update, particularly the goals and objectives statement, which states at page 2 that it is the goal of the comprehensive plan to improve the local economy in terms of business activities, taxes, employment, and property values so as to provide an attractive, affordable, and livable community, providing for existing trends in land use to remain competitive and economically viable in the 21st century. In addition, Section 2, entitled Land Use, states at page 4 that the updated comprehensive plan should identify sites that encompass major long-term land use issues, including vacant or underutilized land. This property is vacant and has been, to my knowledge, for the better part of 8 to 10 years. Further, Section 5 of the 2010 update provides at page 10, which is entitled Economic Development, that one of the key components of a good community is a healthy economy. Of specific concern to the local economy is employment, taxes, revenue, and required expenditures. In light of the foregoing, the comprehensive plan notes the following relative to this town's NB zoning district. In the NB zoning district, there are 21 parcels which are presently used for gas or auto body, which consists of approximately 8.77 acres, or 2.9% of the parcels zoned NB in the town. Over the past 20 years, there has been a marked reduction in the number of gasoline stations on the island. Leading causes include the county's requirement to replace single-wall tanks with double-wall tanks, the decline in automotive repairs at gasoline service stations, labor and operating expenses, taxes, and increased credit card fees. In fact, for the record, the state of New York has the highest per gallon tax in the United States. It's almost 70 cents a gallon. Yes.
I think we're convinced.
Okay.
On the map, there were 2 lots, lot 52 and 49. Those are proposed for change of zone to neighborhood business?
It would be, just for the record.
And are you going to develop both lots?
Both lots would be zoned
Okay,
NB.
that's all. Thank you.
If the board has no questions, or if the board wants to hear from Mr. Olivo
Okay.
or the project engineer, Chris Tartaglia, they're available to answer any questions that this board may have.
Anyone in the audience wish to be heard? Town board wish to be heard?
No.
You submitted the traffic study for the record?
We did.
Thank you. I'll move to close the hearing.
Second.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareham?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move on. We have a second reading for Parade Walk Run for the Wood Park Memorial, second reading for the VFW and Elwood Comac Post, second reading for Smithtown Elementary PTA, Bike Safety Rodeo, second reading for the Smithtown Chamber of Commerce, Running of the Bull, and second reading for a run-walk Comac Ambulance Corps. Anybody wish to be heard for or against? We'll move on. I'm told I have to read the Board of Water Commissioners first. We'll sit as a Board of Water Commissioners now, and Board of Water Commissioners approved Chris Newstead, Raymond Martin Bianco, and Gary Rivers to attend the Waterworks Association training class on June 12, 2013. Total cost of $150.
And Supervisor A and B, the minutes for March and April.
Okay, and we also have on file here the minutes for March and April. On the Board of
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes. There's something to read second here. Okay. Okay. Town Board to approve the minutes of Thursday, March 21st. B, amend the resolution 2013-347 of the board meeting to accept cash in lieu of a performance bond in the amount of $6,660 posted by Hummingbird Holdings Corporation. The supervisor to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Smithtown Administrators Guild. Town Board to issue a parade walk permit to Smithtown Elementary School PTA. And D on that, D with the letter A, Town Clerk to issue a parade walk permit to the Ministerio Jesu Christi Vive. I think you need to take votes on DA and D, Mr. Clerk.
Supervisor, which ones are
No,
you?
wait a minute, hold on, we have other ones here? Okay. Okay, Town Clerk to issue parade walk for the Wood Park Elementary. Same for the VFW Ellerwood Post. Same for the Comac Ambulance Corps. Same for the Smithtown Chamber. Also, the town attorney or appropriate official to enter into a stipulation of settlement and consent to the entry of an order with regard to various tax-associated matters. Matt Langwitz and Michael Engelman to attend a hazardous materials course. K, the rejection of all bids received in connection with a bid for tree pruning. Superintendent of Highways to enter into agreements with local fire, water, school districts, and villages. And M, to retain the services of Garrett W. Swenson, Jr., Esquire, as outside counsel at a fee of $165 per hour.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes on all except DA.
Councilman Wareheim?
Which one is the read on?
DA.
Supervisor, did you read?
DA.
I read DA, yes.
That's DA.
No on DA, yes on the rest.
Okay. All right, I'll start over. Councilman Malloy?
No on the DA, rest, yes on the rest.
All right, Councilman Creighton?
No on DA, yes on the rest.
Councilman Wareheim?
No on DA, yes on the rest.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes on all except for DA.
And Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes, all except DA.
Okay.
You want me
Sure. The town board to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the following bids to be returned in Town Hall, 99 West Main Street, Smithtown, New York, at 11 a.m. on the dates indicated. As per A, athletic field marking paint, May 16, 2013. Lawn and garden supplies, May 16, 2013. Tree pruning and stump grinding, May 23, 2013. And D, refuse remediation from private properties, May 16, 2013.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Item number 3, the town board to award the following bids and to authorize the purchase of the associated goods and services as 3 bid numbers 3, A, B, and C. Bid number 13-025, bid 13-024, and 26, that would be facade, roll-off containers, and cement.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Councilman Creighton?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Item number 4, the town board, after due study and deliberation of subject record, to issue a secret negative declaration to determination of non-significance in the matter of the following matters per reason stated by the dates indicated. As before, A, B, C, D, and E, application for site plan approval for Nature's Resources, application for site plan approval for Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties, application for site plan approval of King Cullen Grocery, application for site plan approval from Pascal Mazzio, and application for site plan approval from New York SALP.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Item number 5, the town board to authorize the acceptance of the following as per 5A and B, a donation and cashier's check.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Item number 6, the town board to authorize the controller to execute the following as per A, B, and C, a transfer, a decrease in an account, and increase in an account as per the printed agenda.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Item number 7, the town board to authorize the supervisor to execute the following in a form approved by the town attorney as per 7A, B, C, and D of the printed agenda. Agreement with KVS Information Systems, agreement with Brio Benefits Consulting, lease agreement with Joan DeJoes, and acknowledgement of receipt of the United States Environmental Agency.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Item number 8, the town board to approve settlement in the following matters per recommendation of the town attorney as per 8A and B, $3,063.78 and $10,000.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Under personnel, the town
Yes.
board to approve the following personnel matters as per 9A through P.
Nobody wants to-
Termination, seasonal appointment, leave of absence, full-time provisional appointment, change of title, part-time appointment, medical leave of absence, seasonal appointment, seasonal reappointments, seasonal appointments and reappointments, seasonal appointment, part-time appointment, seasonal appointment and reappointments, except volunteer services, part-time appointment, and additional part-time appointment, as per the printed agenda.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes. Sitting is a Board of Site Plan Review. Town Board to consider conditionally improving the site plan for Nature's Resource. You need to take a vote on that?
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes, conditionally approved site plan number 1304, 520 Lake Avenue for legalization of exterior renovations.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes, conditional approval of site plan by Verizon Wireless for replacement of 9 antenna panels.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Conditionally approve a site plan by Sheridan, Long Island for a 4-story hotel on north side of Motor Parkway.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Supervisor, you have the minutes approval also.
Okay, the minutes of the approval on site plans,
Councilman Malloy.
April
Yes.
9th.
Councilman Creighton.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman
Wait, wait,
McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say this name right. Angela, 20 Linden Avenue. Can you say your name? Angela Ms. Lowack.
I have come here today to speak on the zoning of the industrial properties in the area of Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road in Kings Park. I would like to contribute information I know as an environmental science teacher and would like to state my thoughts on the situation. Environmental science is a class that is a mix of earth science, biology, chemistry, history, and government. History and government is included because one role of government is to prevent environmental disasters from occurring. Recently in my environmental class, the students were learning about the creation of the first Clean Air Act in the United States. Its creation started with a disaster in Donora, Pennsylvania, when a temperature inversion in Denora caused pollutants from nearby industries to remain in the breathable layer of the air over a weekend when the industries were not operating. As a result of the pollutants in the air, 20 people died and half the town became sick. At the end of the lesson, a question was asked, do you think this could happen again? Upon further research outside the textbook, students found two pieces of information that were pertinent to the situation we have now in my neighborhood. The first piece of information was actually two primary pieces of information. One was a letter written by Lois Bainbridge, a Denora resident, to the local officials. The other was an interview of a high school student in Denora. Bainbridge's letter was very similar to the letters, comments, and speeches from our local residents with regard to the Lawrence Road, Old Northport Road situation. Bainbridge implored local government to take responsibility for the health and welfare of residents and to take action to stop local industries from harming them. The interview of the high school student described very similar experiences to that of our local residents. The student said, the air created a burning sensation in your throat and eyes and nose, but we still thought that that was just normal for Denora. Please remember, history repeats itself. The second piece of information was that temperature inversions like that in Denora occur all the time, and that valleys and hilly areas are more prone to temperature inversions. All of the North Shore of Long Island is hilly. The area of Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road is lower than the area north of it. There have been temperature inversions. We have had times when the toxic air has remained for days, even after the industries have been closed for a day or two. Air quality tests are useless when temperature inversions exist. And remember, history repeats itself. Recently, a fertilizer
How much more do you have
plant...
to go, Miss?
Excuse me?
How much longer do you have to go?
One page.
Okay.
It's big letters. Recently, a fertilizer plant exploded in Texas, leveling 80 homes in a middle school and killing at least 14 people and injuring over 200 people. This occurred in a 4 to 5 block radius. How many feet in our town is considered a buffer from the Lawrence Road, Old Northport Road illegally operated industries? I live 1 block over from these industries, and remember, history repeats itself. At this time, I would like to state my answer to the question posed in my student's textbook. Do you think this could happen again? My answer is yes. I think and I know this can happen again because ignorance, greed, and the need for power exist among people. I have no doubt that the members of this board are aware of the dangers of producing industrial air pollutants in residential neighborhoods and that history repeats itself.
Okay, ma'am, your 3 minutes are up.
4 sentences.
Okay.
No? It's a
4
question.
sentences ago?
That's it.
Okay.
You can allow a new zoning category, you can call a new zoning category anything you like, but in reality it will allow activities that are heavy industry uses or move toward heavy industry uses. I respectfully ask Mr. Wareheim, Mr. Creighton, and Mr. Malloy individually if you are considering giving a zoning change to the industries that have blatantly operated illegally and without regard for the well-being of the surrounding residents. And if you are, please explain to me and the people of my community what is your reasoning or motivation behind considering any zone change for any of the industries involved rather than enforcing the existing code. Logically, the only motivations that can exist are greed, the need for power, or both. You're not ignorant, and you do know that history repeats itself.
Michelle Gary. I missed him.
Michelle's going to pass.
Okay. Larry Shaw.
Good evening. I don't know if that was a rhetorical question or not, but quite frankly, I think that everybody here would like an answer.
What's the answer? Okay. Okay. A question was asked about whether we were rezoning the property?
I think, let me see if I can phrase it, tell me if I'm wrong. I think the question was, is anybody on this board seriously considering the idea of creating a new zoning category called industry? Well, that's my question.
Okay, well,
That's
wait,
my
listen.
question.
Listen, Mr. Shaw, look, I think we're very nice people sitting here.
What? I couldn't
We're
hear
very nice people sitting here.
I understand.
And we're patient people. Whether we consider, the word consider has lots of meanings. The planning director has sent out, have you sent it out yet? Okay.
One phase of it.
Okay.
The other phase is
So
coming next week.
even though the planning director sends out a potential zone change category, doesn't mean, I haven't even read it yet. So
understand.
if you ask me to answer that question, I can't answer it, and I doubt if they can.
Well, what about the other 3 board members that?
Well, in all fairness, and I don't want to speak for them, we only got it the other day.
I'll speak for myself,
Okay.
Mr. Shaw. It's, the planning department has taken the basic review of the outside consultant. And our planning people are looking at that, scrutinizing that, discussing it with the attorneys. We got a preliminary phase 1. Mr. DeRuby said that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. DeRuby, next week you will have further recommendations on what we should do down there.
There are 2 more phases to go through.
2 more stages.
May I respectfully suggest that that idea should be rejected out of hand, and I'm going to tell you why. This board is not here to figure out what should be done with that land. This board is here to enforce the current zoning. Years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there were people who bought land where Jesco is, where KPE2 is, where all these property owners are, the 126 acres. And the land was zoned mostly to residential. Very little of it was zoned light industry. And these business owners had a choice, comply with the zoning or not. For economic reasons, they decided, we're not going to comply with the zoning. We're not going to put up houses. Instead, we're going to rape the land. We're going to mine it. We're going to abuse it. We're going to toxify it. And now what's basically happening is they're putting you in this position of having to figure out what to do about it. How does that make any sense? And if you ever considered this, who's going to pay the penalty for all of this? Us. The only people who are going to be affected if you ever created another zoning category of industry is us. It makes absolutely no sense. Frankly, I don't even know why anybody would consider it. You have the ability to enforce the zoning as it exists right now. If you take those business owners and you fast forward to today, right now what's basically happening is they're saying to you, give us a break, help us out, help us continue to make money off the land that we've destroyed, that we've basically made unsuitable for its legal zoning. If someone came to me with a request like that, I'd laugh. The only people who are going to pay the penalty for any idea like this, it's us. I want to read to you.
What is the idea? I mean, I'd like to know what the idea is.
What idea?
The one you're saying that we're considering.
Changing this, there's 2 things that concern me. One is changing the zoning to some industry category, which would allow some type of heavy industry use, not heavy industry, but some type of use, and outdoor storage. And the other is Tony Lettieri's request for WSI zoning. Both ideas are ridiculous in this neighborhood. I don't know how anybody could possibly consider these. And it concerns me that Tony Lettieri's request has been put off until after the vote, after the election. Why has that happened? Why isn't the board saying no right now?
I have. I'm not supporting that zone change, by the way.
Good. Part of the problem is we don't hear from you enough collectively about how you feel about these issues that impact upon us so much. I actually pulled this off of the website of the town of Brookhaven. And make no mistake, it's not that I love the town of Brookhaven, but on their website, Councilman Mazzi announces court order stopping Stone Coal from accepting any material at Medford site. This is on April 15, 2013. It might as well have said stopping Jesco. In any event, Councilman Tim Mazzi has announced that a New York State Supreme Court order dated April 10th successfully stopped Stone Coal Materials, a 7-acre mulching facility in Medford, from accepting any new material pending the final determination of the action filed by the town for failure to comply with zoning codes. According to Councilman Mazzi, soon after the company opened for business in 2010, he received numerous complaints from town residents who live nearby about the odor emanating from the facility. Open quote. This business has been a threat to the quality of life of the local residents since day one, said the councilman. It's a situation that no one should have to put up with, especially from a business that is in violation of our town codes. I thank our law department for their persistence in this case, and I will continue to work closely with the town attorney to make sure that the residents are not burdened any longer. Supervisor Romaine said, this is another victory in our larger fight to ultimately cease all operations on the site that are in violation of town code. They could have been talking about the 126 acres. The blatant disregard of the health and safety of Brookhaven residents will not be tolerated.
Okay, Mr. Shaw,
I'm almost done.
You've made your point.
I'm almost done.
You've exceeded the 3 minutes.
I have half a sentence.
Okay.
And will be tolerated, and I'm sorry. The blatant disregard of the health and safety of Brookhaven residents will not be tolerated, and we will take whatever action is necessary to prosecute violators to the fullest extent of the law. That's what we want to hear from you.
Tom Universitat.
Mr. Supervisor.
Tom Universitat, you've made your point, Mr. Shaw.
I understand I've made my point, sir, but I live 200 feet from this.
I understand, and
Why
I'm
hasn't-
sympathetic to your cause, so why are you going on?
Well, why hasn't it been acted upon? Why hasn't this board?
We have acted upon it. Do we not just shut down KPE?
Let me repeat
Yes
my-
or no?
Sir.
Earl,
Sir.
you know what
Sir.
happened. The judge allowed them to go back
Sir.
in. We didn't allow them to go back in.
Sir.
Come on, let's be fair.
I am being fair. Let me ask my
No,
question.
look, I'm
Then
not
I'll sit
gonna-
down. I'll sit
listen,
down.
Mr. Shaw, you're 3 minutes over. Let somebody else make a point. Tom Universitat.
Tom Ovzak, 31 Springboro, Kings Park, New York. I'm also here regarding that property, regarding the zone changes to the property on Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road. I don't understand why we are even considering rewarding business owners who knowingly violate town code. The business owners have destroyed the land. Now they want the town of Smithtown to change the zone to what the property is being currently used for today. I'll break it down one by one. Jesco still continues day to day because they operate on a fifth of their property. There is an order to have them to stop, but since the property is divided into quarter or fifths, they get to go ahead and bypass that court order. Letiria, I know Letiria is small potatoes, but he's still a violator regardless. KPE 2, we all know the situation there, and then you got the Carlson property on the other side of the road. And then this property here is a compost facility, and it is a huge compost facility. If you don't want to walk the yard, you can actually take the Long Island Railroad and take a look at this residential property. Mount Carlson, if you can clearly see this from Town Line Road, is what will happen to Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road, and this must be stopped. The Baldessano study, even itself, states that what is happening in this area is incompatible with nearby residents, and this is for over 500 homes, not 4 that is stated in the complaint. The town board voted in favor to clear a resident's property just this past year in Kings Park because they use it as a junkyard. That the town, I believe, went in there already and cleared the property. So if they're going to do that for residents, why don't they do that for Jesco, which is another junkyard in Kings Park? They should do the same thing they do for the residents.
Supervisor,
Thank you.
we just need 2 minutes to change the tape.
Sure. I need 2 minutes myself.